Well, we're going to do a little Christmas cross forging here. I started with the shank of an old railroad spike that I ran through the bandsaw twice. And you'll see it's a little tricky. This piece is a little tricky to... So that was one cut. And then on the exact opposite way on the other end, if I can get a hold of this, I'm trying to do this in a set of tongs so you can actually see what I'm doing. It opens up like this. Now, I fiddle around with this a little bit. For a dramatic effect. I'm using this little tiny thin pair of tongs that don't really fit the work very good. To open this up, and I fumble around with it a little bit, and then I get tired of it, and I find a pair of tongs that actually fit. It's almost impossible to have enough tongs in your shop to fit all the different kinds of crazy sized work you're doing. My suggestion is learn how to build tongs about the second thing you learn how to do if you're going to become a blacksmith. Oh, well, I didn't get it to the ground, it just landed on the anvil stump. And I'm trying to be careful not to hit where that is split on the inside, because well, you'll see here in a minute once I get it opened up. In the opening action, it makes a real intricate little twisted pattern on the inside of there, and I'm trying not to fiddle with that too much. And it's not quite opened up enough for you to see it. My anvil was pretty cold in the beginning here, so it really sucks the heat out of the work. Now, see, I switched tongs. I found a different set of little thin tongs, so you can see what I'm doing. And this set of tongs works a little better. The stuff I do for filming and dramatic effect, I turn a 10-minute project into a 45-minute project. There you're starting to see it's coming together now. Now there's a couple of ways. They never open up squarely, so I'm using the side of the anvil there to kind of square up the pieces there, legs, a little bit. And I'm using a little hammer. I don't know, it might be a 1.5 pound hammer, 2-pound hammer. But it's got a square face, which makes it easier to get in tight to the edges, into the 90-degree angles. And then now I'm using the hardy hole, and I switched hammers. This is another square-faced hammer that I have, or kind of square-faced, not round-faced hammer, so it's a lot easier to get into the edges there. There, it's starting to take shape now. See what I'm doing there. Another heat, another round. These little thin pieces, they don't hold the heat very good, and that anvil's big. It's a 250-pound anvil, so it really sucks the heat out of your work until you get it heated up good. And I hadn't been forging most of the day, and so the handle has gotten pretty cool. Drawing out the bottom leg of this using a rounding hammer, or a turning hammer. That's about a 2.5 pound hammer there. Out a little bit. And the camera doesn't really capture the color of the working steel as I'm seeing it. And I've tried several different filters and stuff over the years in this filming to try to get the color right so you can see what the forging temperature looks like, but it's almost impossible. Even with these newer, these newer cameras and newer filters you can add, it still doesn't really work. drawing that bottom leg out. Okay, now we switched over to the treadle hammer, and I'm gonna give this a little clip using a butcher underneath the treadle hammer. Boom! Butcher's not real sharp. Gotta be a little delicate because you don't want to cut all the way through and mar your tooling. So doing a little friction bend there. Break that off. Up it goes. Straighten. You can see we got it flattened out pretty good there. Give everybody a little show. Okay. Another heat, punch. Once I get the whole set kind of where I want it, then I give it a couple of good, really hard whacks. And you turn it over and you're looking for the shine on the back. There'll be a shine on the back of the piece where you're punching to let you know where you're supposed to be punching it. The punch gets stuck always. And right here, I probably should have had my tools. I need something to hold up because I don't have a pritchel hole on this piece of tooling. In order to get that to come out all the way, I need a little something to hold that up to punch through. And there you can see I went and found a little wrench. And I just give it a tap. The little slug pops out. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now we're going to do, I think I'm doing a little texturing here. So I'm using the cross peen on the hammer. We're going to do a little texture. Cover up the saw marks that I left on the inside of the piece. I really like this texture on these. It really adds a lot to these. I generally would do 2 of these at the same time so I could have one heating and one forging. But when you're filming, sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. I actually had a couple of railroad spike knives I was working on in between the forge while I was doing this. Oh, there you go. Now you can see how that texture kind of looks. I don't do too many of these. They're quite a bit of work for what I feel like I can sell them for. So I only do a few of these a year. Seems like this time of year. And I'm not a very religious person, but I can't help every time I'm forging one of these, I can't help but have the song Old Rugged Cross running in my head every time I'm singing this. And if you don't know that song, it's an old gospel song that back when I was a kid and we went to church, it was one of the favorite songs of some of the old timers I went to church with when I was a kid. Just giving a little brush off, knocking that mill scale back. Edges, that wire brush, it knocks those edges back so they aren't quite so sharp too. That's why I work so hard at it, pressing down pretty hard. A lot of guys will use a bigger brush, a heavier brush, but they don't do a very good job getting down into the crannies and crevices. So I tend to use one of those painter style wire brushes. And then this is a little linseed oil on a rag that I had pre-prepared during the last heating. And I had the temperature just about right. That oil is flashing off, but it's not burning, so it's carbonizing. So that I had the temperature just about exactly where I want it to be to put that finish on. And then I'm going to brush it in a little bit because the rag, you can't always get it in where the rag is. Clean up my mess. And as that cools, it'll take that oil really nicely. And there you go. There's my little forged Christmas crosses. Get it hot and hit it. Always wear your safety squints if you like the content. please subscribe. And happy holidays, everybody.